Yes.
What's like the line? Because I mean, if you just like went in full release, like I was thinking, oh, like I could just stand up and walk around this room and draw like a star over there on the board. But then it's like you're interfering and actually like legitimately influencing the environment around you. Like, where do you want to draw that line?
You want to think of it like this. In this area or field of study, we're faced with many such opposites, seeming opposites. Seriousness, playfulness, disciplined approach, freedom approach, high energy, low energy, direct, indirect. Who am I now? What can I become? Complete freedom versus a sense of decorum. When you're faced with a seeming polarity of opposites like that, the best approach is to transcend it as an A or B black and white situation. Because look, that is one of the conditionings of society, is a dualistic black and white thinking approach. Things are right or wrong, up or down, black or white, off or on. Start to look at them as choices along a spectrum. It's not, I have to do this, like either I'm running around like some 2-year-old drawing with crayons on the walls, or over here I'm like this prim and proper person who's trying to walk on eggshells. When you're faced with the spectrum of energy, understand that the greatest point of vitality along a spectrum is through the synthesis of the poles. So you want to be able to do all of those things. You want to be able to like have this, again, uninhibited flow of energy through all these channels, not trying to care what other people think. But then, of course, you have to take into consideration empathic accuracy. How are you making these other people feel? The mind here, it can be a bridge between the inner and outer, or it can be a barrier. And for many people, it's a barrier. Now, I don't want to cast the mind as some sort of villain here. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a lot of good things that your mind does. They're very, very necessary. It can make creative, discerning decisions in the moment about what to say and do. It can understand certain techniques involved in what you're trying to accomplish and lead you down the waypoints of these types of interactions. It can remember the past and learn from it. It can imagine the future, hopefully. However, it can also judge, and that's where most of the problems come in. So remember, we are conditioned from a very early age to be very careful with our uses of energy, right? From a young age, your parents are like, sit down, shut up, don't run around in the store, don't be loud in the restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. This could result in judgment, censure, loss of validation, confrontation, embarrassment, humiliation, rejection. You have held these conditionings or these inhibitions to be useful and necessary for your own protection for so long that you are likely no longer even aware of them. They're likely below your threshold of awareness. So now, many decades later, all you know is that, okay, there's someone at a party or someone who could help me with my business or someone I just want to talk to, and I want to go introduce myself to that person, and all you know now is you can't do it. You just can't do it. Or when you do go up, you feel stifled. There's like something blocking, and the energy flow it's inhibited. It's not verbally thought out in your mind. It's not, oh, here I go, I better shut this down. It's this right-brained, culturally conditioned error that just prevents you from having free flow of energy through these channels. You ever been at a party where one friend there, they brought you, and then the friend's like, oh, there's my buddy, I'm gonna go talk to him. They step away for a moment, and then you're just like, the dirt. Look at my phone. Look at my phone. So, you want to kind of go around and mingle. So you'll be like, all right, I'm going to go speak to somebody. You'll immediately feel some sort of inhibition. But here's the mechanism. First thing that happens, mind's going to anticipate potential judgment. Now, to that midbrain, that sort of limbic system, that monkey brain, quote unquote, that equals death. Humiliation equals death. And, one thing my buddy Owen says, the mind wants proof, not promises. So you can tell your brain all you want. It's going to be fine. This is ridiculous. Intellectually, I know that nothing bad is going to happen. But your mind's like, no, I don't want your promises. Give me the proof that I'm not going to be ejected from the tribe and left to die in the tundra or whatever, to be consumed by a saber-toothed tiger. So, and again, we can argue whether these are somehow intrinsic fears that we have. They're related to some sort of evolutionary biology, or they're learned. I'd argue it's likely a combination of both. Doesn't matter why. Once those once those fears have been installed in the amygdala, they are basically indelible. You cannot remove them. Now, this is, again, good from an evolutionary standpoint because it means you don't have to keep reminding yourself, finding out every time not to put your hand on the stove. You're like, okay, dangerous situation, it just happens immediately. But in a situation where the so-called danger is arbitrarily related to reality, like, again, you know very well, like if you were out with your coworkers and you were at some bar and you told one of those coworkers, go talk to that person over there, it's highly unlikely they'll be able to do that. They will have to be cajoled, browbeaten, ridiculed, pushed physically, and then even then they may or may not do it. Because they're thinking, if I get rejected, I'll be embarrassed. But the opposite is true. You'd likely be applauded for having the courage to even do that. Win, lose, or draw. So you know this, but intellectually it does not matter. Because what's going to happen is it's going to say potential danger, it detects that there's about to be a change in the quality or quantity of energy put through these channels. Right? Because again, if you want to go meet somebody, let's say you're at a bar. If you want to go speak to somebody at a bar, if you just go up to them and say, hey, what's going on? If I go, hey, what's going on? And I speak in like a normal speaking voice, like I would in just a quiet area, what are they going to do? Huh? Huh? What? They're going to say what, and the moment that they have to say what, it's basically determined that you're not worthy of even speaking to. Because you're sub-communicating this insecurity. So they're just going to be like, they're going to ignore you. In fact, it's funny because I'll go out. For many years, I went out and these extremely loud nightlife environments, and I would come home and then like in the darkness, I would be hearing this ring, ring, ring. I'm like, oh no, that's not good. So I began wearing earplugs. But with those in, you'll think you're speaking a little louder than you actually are because of the nature of them. It just sounds like you're talking. So sometimes at the beginning of a night, I would go and I'd talk to somebody and be like, oh, hey, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, what? I'm like, oh, right. I think I'm speaking like louder than I am. And I'd kick it up and I'd fix it. I'd be like, da, 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 da. And they'd be like, done. Even if I fixed it, it wouldn't matter because that first impression was already made. So anyway, long story short, you want to go introduce yourself to somebody. The mind anticipates there's about to be a change in the quality or quantity of energy pushed through these channels. And so, again, the anticipation of judgment comes into play, and then it's going to call, the mind cannot do anything on its own. So what it's going to do, it's going to call into play physical tension, the body as its enforcer to shut you down. And that, again, so I'd say an overarching sort of fundamental law of this learning how to communicate better and more freely is tension is the enemy. Tension is the enemy, not just physical tension, intellectual language-based densities as well. This is why if you see me out, you will almost never see me just like standing there, stock still, like, right? Why more likely I'm going to be like this. Bare minimum, I'm going to be like tapping my foot to the music, no matter what dumb song du jour is on. Like, what's the dumbest song they play in the club now? All of them. I don't know, that Miley Cyrus one about buying herself flowers or whatever. Like, I'll be like bopping to that. Even though I find it somewhat, unpleasant. I want to maintain a rhythm, a looseness to prevent that subliminal onset of tension, because it will creep up and you will not even notice it. And once you're in the grasp of it, you're done. It's very, very difficult to get out of that. And this can manifest in a number of ways. It can be breath holding, it can be jaw clenching, it can be darting eyes, it can be like a generalized shoulder neck tension, it can be weird finger hand activity, fucking with your cuticles, it can be hands in your pockets, it can be shifting from foot to foot, it can be locked knees. But once it's there, it's very difficult to get out of it. When I go out, some of my assistants, our prime directive is just do whatever we think is the funniest thing to do in the moment, not trying to pander to what we think other people might like. I think that that's probably the biggest determinant of whether or not your vibe is good. Because I want you to look at all of your interactions through this lens. When you're going to introduce yourself to people, are you A, seeing people having fun and then trying to weasel your way into their fun? Like there's a group of people having fun. Excuse me, can I join the fun? Can you please give me some energy? Give me energy so I feel better about myself, so I don't feel unvalidated. Can I join? Like anytime you're asking for energy, generally that's going to be not very well received. Generally. Now imagine on the opposite side, you're already enjoying yourself in the environment. And then you're going to go up and add that to their night and invite them to collaborate with you like I'm having a good time, you appear to be having a good time. Join me in this middle space here and we can kind of collaborate and make something new. As opposed to, can I get in? Can I get in? Like anytime it's can I get in, there's gonna be get out of here. Like just go. Like I do not have excess. I got my own problems here. Like I'm trying to unwind from my stressful work week here, and this like needy, competitive energy. It's a competitive energy. That's what tends to not get a good result, is competitive energy. What do I mean competitive? It's like if I talk to these people and they don't like the things I'm saying, I am diminished. I am a loser. I have fucked up. It's something bad has happened. And then consequently what subsequently after the almost guaranteed poor reaction, then what happens? It becomes a story in their head about what does it all mean about me and who I am and this, that, and that. They're so inside here that there's no space for the other person's experience at all. It's like, what does it mean for me? What is the story about me? And it's no wonder, because they're so solipsistic. Like they wouldn't even know how to collaborate with another person, because it's all about them. Understanding this is not going to necessarily help you. You're not going to drop decades of conditioning overnight. Awareness is the first step. Now the problem with that is a lot of that awareness will come with shame. It'll come with guilt, which is kind of paradoxical because that's what caused all of this in the first place. So the awareness needs to come without and again, particularly with socializing, particularly with dating, it's so results oriented. And so it's so easy to get into a defensive mindset about it, especially when you're told what you're doing is, quote, wrong. The mind needs to be allowed to relinquish its death grip over this entire system and be relegated to more of a coaching role or a guiding role. Because it can be a bridge or a barrier, but yes, even a bridge has guardrails.